Khan Academy, volume, and we're working on the second subtopic, volume of rectangular prisms with unit cubes. So we can see that the unit cube again looks like this, and it asks what is the volume of the rectangular prism. So all we're looking at here right now is the same as the previous lesson. They're just calling this the volume of the rectangular prism instead of asking us to count the cubes. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cubes there. So it's going to be 5 cubic units. Now again, remember, we're not counting the squares because this is the front of a cube, this is the top of the cube. So it's 1 cube right there. Okay, and then same here, front and top, front and top, front and top. This is the front, top, and side, all of the same cube. So even though there's a lot of squares here, we're counting the cubes. So we've got to really try to look at that in 3D vision. So 5 cubic units. Again, they're just letting us know that this is 1 unit cube. What is the volume of the rectangular prism? Now, with these ones, we've got a few different options. You can try to count all of the cubes in here, and for some students, that's what works really well. For me, it's easier to just refer back to our volume equation. Okay, so for that, we're going to remember that volume equals the length times the width times the height. And when we do the length times the width times the height, I'm going to look here and I'm going to say, okay, how long is this figure? Well, 1, 2, 3, 4 cubes. So 4. And then how wide is this figure? Well, it's 1 cube deep, 2 cubes, because this is our front one and this is the back one. So 4 times 2. Then, yep, I know that's kind of a funky 2. It's a little bit hard to write on here. And then how tall is this? Well, it's 1, 2, 3 cubes high. And again, I know that's tricky to see because you can see all those squares up there, but that's really just the top view that we're getting. So that's 3. So for me, it's easiest, instead of trying to count all of these and trying to imagine what's behind here, I like to just go straight to the equation. Volume equals length times width times height. So 4 times 2 is 8, and then we have 8, so then 8 times 3 is going to give us 24. What is the volume of the rectangular prism? Okay, so again, we're counting our cubes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cubes. Okay, so here, because we have more than just one row, that's when I like to go back and do that. Volume equals length times width times height. And then I'm going to look and say, okay, my length, well, it's 1, 2 across. So that's going to be a 2. That's a little better too. And then my width, so how far back does it go? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's going to be 6. And then how high is my figure? 1, 2. Now sometimes students will mix up the length and the width, or they'll kind of change some of these numbers around. Remember, that's okay, because with multiplication the order of the numbers doesn't matter, but the biggest key is to make sure that you don't accidentally count like the height 2 times. Okay, so make sure you're always doing how many across, how many far back does it go, and how high is it. So 2 times 6 is going to give me 12, and then 12 times another 2 is going to be 24 cubic units. Could you count each one of these squares if that's what's going to work best for you? Absolutely. There's just more of a chance of mistakes happening, and it kind of sometimes messes with your eyes when you're trying to look at those 3D shapes. What's the volume of the rectangular prism? Again, there's only one, it's only one wide here, so I can count those squares. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. If I wasn't sure and I wanted to, I could do my volume equals length times width times height, because I just look at my length, and my length, it's 4 across. Then I look at how wide it is. It's only 1 wide, it's only 1 deep, times how high is it? 3. So notice that either one is going to give us the same answer. You have to use what's going to work best for you. For me personally, with these ones, when it's not more than 1 wide, I usually can count them. When it starts to get to 2 wide, it just gets to be too complicated for me. So 4 times 1 is 4, times another 3 is 12, and that's the same answer we got when we counted as well. What is the volume of the rectangular prism? So again, I'm just going to start with volume equals length times the width times, ooh, that got a little bit crazy, sorry, times the height. Okay, so our volume, our length is 1, 2, times the width. How far back does it go? 1, 2, 3, 4. And then how high is it? When I look at my shape here, it's 1, 2, 3 high. So 2 times 4 is 8, times 3 is 24 cubic units. Okay, and again, I just want to remind you, if you are somebody that sees this visually and you can count these cubes, go for it. That's totally fine. You got to do what works best for you. Last problem here. Okay, so for me, like I said, this one's pretty flat, so I can count my cubes. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then there's another row of 5, which would give me 10, and another row of 5, which is going to give me 15 cubic units.